Hey, good morning to those of you out there on the West Coast. Good afternoon to those of you here on the East Coast with me. It's a beautiful day out there. It's one of those days that it goes dark and then gets light, but it's a good, fun day. I see people already engaging in chat. I appreciate that. It helps let everybody else know that we've got started. So thank you for doing that. I wanted to give a quick tip for success for those showing up early and on time. This morning, I put out a post on LinkedIn about, specifically the Navy, because we're talking about the Navy today. And what I put out was a post about the chief technology officer for the Department of the Navy put out their priority technology areas, and they layer them out level 1, level 2, level 3. So if you're in technology, you really want to be paying attention to this because this is the priorities they have in front of them. And whenever we go into sell or have meetings, et cetera, we want to make sure we're aligning to what they say. In the top 5 level 1s that are out there are AI and autonomy, quantum, transport and connectivity, C5ISR and naval space, and then cyberspace operations and zero trust. And so if you're doing anything on the technology side or the professional services side, get in there and understand it, because what I shared, the information I originally used to write the post came from an internal Department of Navy document. It's totally okay for me to share it, but it was designed for internal Navy personnel to tell them, hey, this is what we're doing and where we're going. And so when the industry, people like us go in and read that and then align what we do, it just makes it so much easier for us to work with those customers. What I would say about professional services, you don't have to just be an IT person. Understand their technology priorities. And when you're doing professional services, you could just make sure you're aligning to the overall naval strategies or Navy strategies or their IT strategies, whatever they are. Okay, quick tip for those of you showing up early and on time. Again, thank you for doing that. Let's go ahead and dive into today's training around doing business with the Navy. I think you can totally sell to the Navy, and that's what we're talking about. You might be at different stages in your career or your company's evolution, and that's a really important thing to pay attention to. But the Department of Navy, for the most part, wants to buy what you sell, what products you sell, what services you sell, right? They're not going to buy tanks, but for the most part, they buy everything else. They buy haircuts, lawn care service, they buy IT services, they buy professional services, facility support. They need what you sell. And they are the second largest budget going into FY 2026. They're behind the Air Force in approved budget, right? And that's a loose term in there. But basically, it's their discretionary spending. They have the money to spend. And so now you just need to align what you sell to their requirements. That's why that post I did this morning was so good, is you can see their priorities, and then you can look at what you sell and you align the two. And that's how you make a sale, right? You don't just try to sell a solution that has no problem stated. The Navy, one of the things I really like about the Navy, and I was happy I could share this today, is the Navy, and I've been doing this 8 years as let's call it a professional trainer and person who's really out there, in 20 years as a government contractor. But for 8 years, I've been watching the small business professionals within agencies. And the Navy, by far, as a group, is above any other agency that's out there, any other department, et cetera. These people are some of the most helpful people. And the lower down you go, meaning lower down in commands, the more helpful they are. And so I'm really excited about that. But you should be excited as well, because if you go down into somewhere like Naval Surface Warfare Center, Crane, Indiana, in the state of Indiana, right? If you go there, you can find a small business professional who will guide you through that office, and they spend billions there annually, right? So you can find somebody who will guide you in there. They'll help you prepare. If you're not ready to go in, they'll tell you what needs to be done. And that's what I always liked about the Navy. So that's really exciting when you think about how to do business with the Navy. It starts with having somebody, and we'll talk about this in a minute, but somebody who's going to help you. The one thing I did want to say, besides put Navy rocks into the chat or the comments, I wanted to make sure you set your expectations realistically. I'm going to be talking about things today that are helpful for people who are brand new and helpful for people who are in a billion-dollar firm. My target audience are people who are generally doing some revenue already in the federal government, and going into the Navy makes sense. If you're not at that stage, don't worry, I'll give you some tips. And if you're farther along, this is exactly how any of us get into new agencies. And so I just want you to set the expectations realistic, but But that doesn't mean don't be optimistic. You can absolutely have the success you want. Just make sure you're really narrowing it down to where you should go. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. I'm going to break up today's training about how to do business with the Navy into 4 sections. The first thing I want to talk about is just the organizational structure of the Navy or the Department of Navy. So we'll talk about that, and it's really important for you to understand that. That's the foundation to really all of your success going forward. Second thing is you can't do it alone. I just mentioned a little bit ago about how great the small business professionals are. I'm going to give you 7 different types of people that you can reach out to who can help you have success within the Navy. The third thing we're going to talk about is where the Navy buyers are looking. There's this line that says, people buy from those they know, like, and trust. People buy from those they know, like, and trust. And if they don't know you, they can't buy from you. If they go to search and you're not where they're looking, they can't buy from you. Forget about the like and trust. They can't even get to the know part, right? And I want to really give you some guidance on that. And then I'll wrap up today's training with some good ideas about how you can find opportunities within the Department of Navy. So if that sounds good, again, put Navy Rocks into the chat and let's get rocking and rolling. If you don't know who I am, my name is Neil McDonald. I'm the president of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce. I am founder of Call Plan AI, and I want to welcome you to my federal sales training where I provide tips for success in the federal market. After I got out of the Army, I spent 20 years as a small business government contractor. And since 2018, I've been teaching people like you that government contracting is not a secret. It's just a process. When we follow a process A to Z, we have repeatable, predictable results. And this is what I want for you. I want you to be able to have that predictable success in 2026. If you haven't already followed me on LinkedIn, definitely come over here and follow me. I have a huge network, 41,000 people in my network, and I'm happy to make introductions. I was doing that with somebody who reached out and said, hey, do you know this person? Can you make an intro? Sometimes I don't even know the person I'm making an intro, but because we have a connection, I can say, hey, Sally, do you mind if I introduce you to John? Sure, go ahead. So it warms it up a little bit. We should all be doing that for each other. If you haven't subscribed to Government Contracting Success newsletter, this is my newsletter, and it is the largest GovCon newsletter on LinkedIn. It grows faster than the Department of Defense's. It's bigger than the Department of Defense's newsletter. So that gives you some perspective of how fast and how big it is. And it's because I'm always providing valuable information in there on how you can succeed as a government contractor. I got a little thing that says upcoming training, but I haven't actually prepared next week. If this is your first time hearing me, I tend to prepare the training and drop it out on like Saturday or Sunday for the next week. I don't do long range forecasting on my training because, you know, this is not my paying job. But I do like to do the training. So watch for it on Sunday. Okay, we're off to the Bill Vaughn, CB's Rock. Okay, so you distracted me, Bill. I'm in a good mood. It's Friday. I think the sun's going to be out. I'm really looking forward to getting down to the water. The Navy, speaking of water, is broken up. Their command is broken up into different ways that you can look at it. I want to share with you my perspective. And it's not my opinion, by the way. It's my perspective from how I look at how DOD describes it and how the Navy describes it themselves. Your job is to go research further. My job is to give you a taste of the organizational structure so you understand it. When you think about supporting the Department of Navy, there's 2 basic, let's call it command structures you can go into. One is the operational side, and these are the commands that carry out the specific missions, the exercises, the operations, the training, whatever that gets out there. Basically, they're the ones that go fight, right? And when you're not fighting a war, you're training to fight a war, and that's the administrative side. Again, these are just my words on summarizing it as an Army guy talking about the Navy. So the operational side goes fights the war. The administrative side takes care of everything else, right? On a military installation, we might call this garrison activity. But they're responsible for the readiness, making sure we're all prepared. All the sailors, soldiers, airmen are all prepared to go do the fighting. And so in this particular case, I'm going to show you this in a minute on another screen I'll share. But that's how they're broken down. And the reason that's important is sometimes we're not really ready to be able to support the operational side of the Navy, but we can support the administrative side. And the longer we're in, the more we can evolve. Some of the best people who can support the operational side are the ones who actually are coming out of the Navy and have that operational experience, and you're spilling that right in. That kind of makes sense. I share here that there's 10 buying commands. In the Air Force, we used to call these MAGCOMs. Here we call them buying commands. It's all the same thing, or system commands. But these are the ones you want to pay attention to. And most importantly, if you're under 5 million, you want to pick one and go get your next, get to 5 million in just one. You don't need to go to two. One of them should be able to get you to 5 million, no problem, or to the next level you want to go to. So NAVC is Naval Sea Systems Command. And basically think about boats, right? on top of the water and under the water. So NAVC, an example of a breakdown structure you might see in there in the organization is you got the Department of Navy. Just really quick, I want you to understand how much, if you take the time to research, you'll begin to understand this. You got the Department of Navy. Under the Department of Navy, you got the Marine Corps and the Navy. So under the Navy, you got NAVC. Under NAVC, you got something called Naval Warfare Centers. And under Naval Warfare Centers, you got Naval Surface Warfare Center, Crane, Indiana, that I mentioned earlier. So that's like 5 levels down, and they're spending billions, right? So it's really important to understand that when I say pick one command, I don't mean there's not a lot of spending in there. Commands like NAVC and others spend a lot. All right, so NAVC, think about if you do anything with boats, that's you. NAVWAR stands for Naval Information Warfare Systems Command. But basically, that's the IT shop for the Navy. If you do IT, ignore the rest for the moment and dive into NAVWAR. NAVFAC is Naval Facilities Systems Command. Basically, they're the installation command of it. So they manage all the naval installations. NAVSUP is the next one. This is supply. So Naval Supply Systems Command. Hopefully I'm getting all 4 words right. That's a lot of talking there on that. But this is all the supply side. So think about anything on selling products in particular. NAVAIR is anything in the air. So if NAVC is on the water, NAVAIR is in the air. It's the Naval Air Force, if you will. Don't tell them I said that. They might not like that. But Naval Air Systems Command, right? I'm literally right here by NAVAIR Pax River, if anybody knows that command. And then you move over to 6. And the reason I spelled 6 out is because I might have forgot what the acronym stand for. But SSP, Strategic Systems Command, Military Sea Lift Command, Office of Naval Research. And then the last 2, 9 and 10, are the Marine Corps. So United States Marine Corps' Installation and Logistics Command, and then the Marine Corps Systems Command. These are the Navy's main organization. My recommendation to you here is pick one. Pick one of those 10. If you're under, I would say if you're under 10 million, pick one. Go in, get your 10 million. If they're spending billions and billions and billions, it is realistic for you to find it. And that's just, I don't want to get too far down that path, but it is, discipline that keeps us in there to get the money out of the one command that we want and that we know we can support. All right, let me come over here really quick and show you a little bit about how I dive into the organizational side. This is a great place to go to sometimes. DoD does its own fancy pictures, but it's hard sometimes to go into the Air Force, the Army, or the Navy and find a true just understanding top-down approach. And so here, this is a great way. This is where I got into the operational administrative side. And if you come down, you see the administrative side. It talks about the various commands. So you got shore commands, system command, type commands. This is where you start beginning to learn about them. And again, remember, I said pick one as you come down. If you're in I thought I saw medicine, right? Bureau of Medicine. If you're on that healthcare side. But there's different commands in here. Begin to understand them. When you understand them, you can pick them. A couple other quick ideas about org charts. I can go in, and so can you. Go to Google and search for NAVFAC, for example. This is their headquarter organization chart. And the reason these things are awesome is not only does it give me an understanding of how they organize what they're doing, like, say I'm doing anything with legal side or FOIA requests or something like that. Here's NAVFAC Council. Those are the lawyers. I can see who they are. I can go out and start following them out there. Here's the Information Technology Center. Sam Chambers. I don't know who he is, but if I'm in IT and I'm trying to get in there, I can pursue it. So find the org charts as you go down and really begin to understand them. And the last one I'll show you, and I'm going to come back to this guy in a minute, there's a lot of different assistant secretaries, right? And this one's for research and development, but also for acquisition, right? They serve as the Navy's acquisition head. And if you come in to somewhere like this, you begin to get another big idea of how the Navy is organized. So here you see system commands, the program executive offices. To me, those are kind of equal to the system commands in the sense that, I work on submarines, not just NAVC, but I'm going to go into PEO submarines or something, and you dive in. So there's a lot of fast speed information I'm sharing with you. But the point is, start with understanding the organization of the Navy, and you'll be able to really navigate in there to where they need what you sell. Okay, so you're navigating in there, and the easiest way to navigate is with somebody's help. Somebody who's been there before and it can guide you. And so I want to give you 7 quick roles that people are in that might be able to help you. They definitely can help you. It's whether they're willing and whether you can convince them. The first one are small business contractors inside of the Navy. So people who have already won a contract. These are the best, from my perspective, for small businesses trying to have success because they remember what it was like to be you. They know how hard it is to get a contract and get a prime contract and get in the Navy, right? So they're more willing to talk with you. You might have to call a fair amount to get somebody to answer the phone, but they're going to talk to you. So first ones you want to talk to is small businesses. Second one, you want to talk to the small business professionals within the Navy. The 100 plus, I already sung their praise at the beginning of training. So definitely call them, do that introduction and start building the relationship. By the way, none of these are one and done. You're trying to build a long-term, multi-year relationship with them. Number 3 are the small business liaison officers at large primes. So a small business prime contractor, you basically call the owner. But at a large business, your target is the small business liaison officer who can help you navigate, if it makes sense to them, help you navigate their organization. Number 4 is this group of people called PCRs, or Procurement Center Representatives. And if I come here, I just want to show really quick. In here, you just go to the SBA.gov website. You just go to Google and type in SBA PCR, and it pulls up the first link coming here. But inside of here, you can find a bunch of people. And when you come in, you're able to see, like right here, this person here, Kevin, is responsible for National Guard. I got a feeling if I went down, Kevin would be responsible for a lot of things. But like this person here, right? Khan is responsible for multiple things. No Navy, it doesn't look like, but you get my point. So come here, find these PCRs. Their job is to sit there and do oversight to make sure any opportunity that could go small goes small instead of going large or full and open, right? And so you want to build a relationship with them. They have a relationship with your target customers. Number 5 are the Apex counselors. Hopefully you're reaching out to your folks out there. By the way, I put numbers on the side. If you're not seeing the slides, there's 38 PCRs. There's over 400 PTAC counselors. If I'm trying to get into a Navy installation or something that's across the country and I'm not in that PTAC, and PTACs tend to be territorial where they don't support you, well, just reach out and build a relationship on LinkedIn, engage with them for a few weeks, and they go, hey, by the way, can I ask a question? You're not asking a PTAC, you're asking a counselor who's on the LinkedIn side. It's just a different approach. Number 6 and 7 are the acquisition staff. So reach out and find contracting officers who are awarding contracts that you wish you had won in the Navy. If you go to FPDS, number 1, number 3, and number 6, you can find all those people in fpds.gov. If you go in there and learn how to search FPDS and find opportunities you wish you had won, you will see the winners, large or small business. And in the top right-hand corner, you will see the contracting officer listed up there. One way or another, like an email or something cryptic, you just got to get good at finding them. But you take that to Google, you'll find their full information. The last one are the Navy Chief of Contracts. Some places we call these heads of contracting activity. And literally kind of DOD does call that for higher level. But the Chief of Contracts, remember I keep using this example of Naval Surface Warfare Center Crane in Indiana. They have one there, and there's 10 warfare centers, right? So each one of them have it. And those are just one, let's say, group of commands under NAVC. And NAVC has others, and there's 10 buying commands, right? So you can find a lot of chief of contracts that are enabling you to get in farther, maybe meet some of their people, maybe you can learn from them, maybe you just follow them on LinkedIn or on the website, et cetera, so that you can understand what they're communicating as priorities as well as the opportunities they're sharing. Okay, I watched my time. I only got 11 minutes left, so that's why I'm kind of pushing through fast. I want to give you good information. Replays are always available, so you can come back and check this out to make sure it's there. Okay, so let's talk about the Navy. So yesterday I said, where the Navy buyers are, and it was really hard. Yesterday I was talking about the Air Force. It was really hard because they don't really make it easy to find them. But inside of the Navy, they do a really great job. So I want to tell you a couple of things. First off, ds.sba.gov, and it's got a new name now, SBA Small Business Search. But basically, just go to dsbs.sba.gov. When you go there, that is your company's supplier portal to the federal buyer. That is the number one market research tool for federal buyers, right? Every particular buyer might have a favorite, but that's the number one tool for the entire federal government to find small businesses like yours. And so you want to make sure you're visible in there. So many of us are not. We don't have keywords in there. We don't have our capability statement. And worse, we don't have our past performances in there. So if you're doing good work on the commercial or state and local or federal side, but you don't have it in DSBS, you look like you're an inexperienced company. And in the buyer's mind, they're like, yeah, I'll skip that. I'm going to find somebody with experience. It's like, no, I have a ton of experience. So go to dsbs.sba.gov. Then inside the Navy, there's all sorts of supplier portals. I've got a whole directory of supplier portals out there, and I keep putting new ones on LinkedIn. Usually in my newsletter, I lay out, here it is, and I give you step-by-step on how to register. But I'll give you two quick examples, right? NavAir, they have one. You go over there and register. Naval Surface Warfare Centers, multiple surface warfare centers are standing up their supplier portals. Some of them are a little sophisticated where, they got more fields you put in, et cetera. And some of them are like a small form that says, hey, let us know. That's just the small business professional at that command wanting to find people who want to work with their command. And so they just say, hey, just give me a couple of pieces of information, basically are on my spreadsheet. But when they go looking for sellers like you, they're going to first look at their internal list, then they'll go to DSBS. I put here that RFI responses are the best way to be visible or be where the buyers are looking. The time when the buyers are looking is during market research. They do not look for the fun of it, right? So they're looking out there when they've got a need, a requirement that's going to come out at some point. So sometimes they come out informally. They just start looking around for sellers for what they have. Other times they go through this formal process with sources sought or an RFI. If you respond, you are visible. If you're trying to get into NAVC and you focus on responding to NAVC RFIs, right? And you really make sure you're responding to ones that your company is very good at, or you're very good at a portion of, and you're responding to them, you're going to be visible. You're going to get invited in. You're going to be able to call them. They go, oh, I saw you participated in the sources sought. Come on in. We'll talk for a few minutes. If you understand what I'm trying to communicate here about being where the buyers are looking, put be visible in the comments. I want people to wonder, why did they write a bunch of be visibles? Because this goes out on LinkedIn. People see it and they're like, what does be visible mean? It means that's what you need to do if you want to get found. I wanted to thank today's sponsors. I really appreciate the sponsor support to be able to put on these lives. Graham, who does ASL services, American Sign Language services, and can support you as well on your staffing needs. Steel Toed, who does cybersecurity services. In particular, they do CMMC. So if you're thinking about supporting DoD, you're definitely thinking about CMMC. So call Steel Toed. And then Restream, who I use to be able to push this out. This is how I do my lives every day, as I use Restream, and it goes through LinkedIn to YouTube to Facebook, etc. So check out Restream if you're looking to sit there and promote your own company further. And then Call Plan AI is my company. It's where we help you start and build relationships. Check it out. Okay, I only got a couple of minutes left, so I want to dive into the last slide and make sure I give you that value. So when you're thinking about doing business with the Navy, you need to understand their organization. You need to make sure that you begin to build relationships with people who can help you navigate the Navy, learn about their pain points, their priorities, and to learn about opportunities. And so on this last slide, I want to talk to you about how to find Navy opportunities, just give you some examples. And really quick, before I forget, one that I didn't put on here that I use all the time because I'm in the IT side is NavWar has a portal, and I think it's 1980s it was built, but it's a pretty cool portal. It's basically just a bunch of folders. And so go check that out on NavWar Pacific's site. You can, maybe if somebody's feeling generous and remembers it, drop it in there. But that's a separate portal that just sits out there that they still do a pretty good job communicating. And they also drop in forecasts. All right, so the first place is long range acquisition forecast. And I wanted to show you a bunch of forecasts really quickly here. Oh, by the way, I forgot about some of these people, but this person here is the assistant commander for the Department of Navy contracting. She is somebody I would follow. Like if you're really trying to get in, you want to understand your buyer, not just show up when they're selling something you need. But when I follow somebody like that and I'm doing my research, then I start understanding that NAVFAC has its own chief of contracting, or NAVFAC Pacific, NAVFAC Southwest. All these different entities or commands all around, they all have their different contracting offices, and I can find out who they are. In here, NAVC's got their own long-range acquisition forecast. I'm not going to click on it, but one thing I will click on is, or tell you about, is deputy program managers. Inside of the Navy, one of the things they do, again, way better than anybody else, is they say the deputy program manager should serve as kind of a small business liaison, if you will, to their programs. So that way small businesses have a belly button to push inside those programs, and it's not all on just this one small business professional. So check that out in NAVC and some of the others. Here, I was just showing you an example here of, you can go into SAM and just type in Long Range Acquisition Forecast, or LRAF, and you don't even have to put the Navy. You just put it in. You'll start seeing that many, many agencies share those out there on SAM. So this one here, it turned up this one. So this is from, I can't even, Snavair, I can't even remember what it is. Like, sometimes I remember and then I forget. And I bet you it's written right here somewhere for me. But anyways, you get my point. There's a lot of stuff in here, some older ones, but you come down and I love it because it's got 2025, 6, it goes out 7. So you got a lot of opportunities in here you can pursue. But if you go over to my newsletter, you can find this government contracting long-range acquisition forecast. This one's a little older, but you still get the idea because there's a ton of links that we have in here. We try to find as many as we can. And for the Navy down here, as an example, you know, we've got a bunch of long-range acquisition forecasts that you can go out to and follow. Okay, and then a couple other places where you can find opportunities that are always good places. If you're looking at fpds.gov, you can find expiring contracts that were awarded before, and they're probably going to come up again. So if I'm looking at 2026 in the sales activity I'm doing now through, you know, the first quarter of next year, then I'm looking at contracts that are expiring in 2026 or later part of 2026. So you can go into FPDS, find what you wish you had won, and the field you want to look at. And here's just a tip. I'm not going to write it down, but it's called estimated completion date. So if you find the estimated completion date and you set your field, that's a 5-year contract. That'd be the date where that 5-year contract's ending. And that's how you kind of line yourself up. You can go into SAM. Obviously, SAM.gov has a ton of information. Look at the inactive opportunities as well, because you can look at awards. And then top contracting vehicles. If you're not on Navy Seaport Next Gen, for example, go find somebody who is. It's 2 seconds for them to add you in there so that you can be aware of opportunities coming out. And then you can go right back to those prime contract holders and talk to them about how you can get on there. The last place you want to really remember for how to find Navy opportunities, this is fundamental to how I teach sales and how you find opportunities, right, is strategic relationships. When you have strategic relationships, you're hearing about opportunities, and you're hearing about them early. You hear about many opportunities that you might not even see from your teaming partners who are pursuing stuff. They go, you know what, we're going after this opportunity. You should join us. Like, oh, I wasn't even tracking that, right? So you're getting invited once you have those strategic relationships. When you're working with the federal buyer, same kind of thing, that you're talking to them and they're like, hey, we're going this direction. You're hearing about opportunities early. So make sure you're building the strategic relationships within the Navy so that you start hearing about more opportunities. You don't just depend on FPDS or SAM or something, but you're having conversations about real needs that are going to turn into real opportunities going forward. Here's what I want you to remember from today's training. First off, the Navy has the second highest budget in FY 2026. It's huge. So that means they have the money to spend, and they absolutely need what you sell. Products, services, they need what you sell. And so they want to hear from you. If you just remember these 3 things and the training I did today, you can start accelerating your success in the Navy. Remember, if you're newer to the game, and I call newer, say, $1 million below, subcontract under small businesses. Don't try to prime contract. It's 10 times as hard for, you know, a fraction of the money compared to building relationships with people who will value what you can bring as an expert. All right, training's up. Watch Sunday. I'll drop more trainings out here just on LinkedIn on my post. If you want support on building strategic relationships, I stood up Call Plan AI specifically for this. It's a SaaS product. So just go to www.callplan.ai. If you're an early subscriber, I'm giving 90% off for life. I'll do that for a little bit longer. So definitely jump in there and check it out. I have a video that'll tell you all about it. For the rest of us, as you head into the weekend and ready for next week, just remember, government contracting, it's not a secret. It's just a process. I will see you in the next training.